Welcome to Joyfully Unstoppable, the podcast for women who are ready to succeed without the stress. Whether you're leading a team, a classroom, a boardroom, or your own big, beautiful life, I am so glad you found us. I'm your host, Becky Hamm, leadership coach, speaker, and founder of Women Lead Well. Each week, we'll explore what it means to lead joyfully, sustainably, and authentically, even in a world that tells you to hustle harder and prove your worth. You carry a lot. Let's help it feel lighter. Okay, now, if you listened to the last episode, you already have our brain-based explanation for why motivation fades after the first few weeks of the year or the first few weeks of implementing a goal, and why 92% of us don't achieve the goals we set. Today is about changing that percentage, putting you in the 8%. Anyway, so today we're going to talk about implementation and what you can do to automate implementation. So when motivation starts to drain, when your brain starts to economize or work for efficiency, you have set yourself up for success. Now, how do you keep follow-through going across a full quarter, across 6 months, across the whole year, inside a schedule that's already pretty full and a brain that's already operating at a pretty high level? It's just a practical question. Many goals are set with real intention, and then the execution that you need in order to actually achieve the goal, it can start to require more and more mental effort. And so if you haven't listened to that first episode from last week, go back and listen to it when you're done listening to this one to get that deeper explanation of why. I'm not going to go into it today. I spent about 20 minutes last week talking about it. But the answer is it's not because the goal is any less important. It is simply that when the novelty wears off and the brain has to manage all of the competing responsibilities that it has to keep your body alive, it's going to cut what it sees as non-essential. And kind of the first in, first out principle, these new goals that you're working to achieve, that's new. It takes a heavier lift because it hasn't automated, hasn't built the implementation, systematized the implementation yet. And so the brain keeps having to answer the same questions. When am I going to do this? How am I going to fit it in? Do I have the energy for this today? Hint, probably. Does it matter as much? Does it really matter to me? Does it still matter to me this week? Do I have to do this now? Can I wait on this? Right? You've asked yourself these questions before. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Those questions are natural. They're normal. But they create friction. And friction impedes progress. So today I'm going to give you 2 actions that you can take to reduce that friction and protect your execution. And I'm just giving you 2 because I want it to be simple. The simpler you can make implementation, the more automatic you can make implementation, the more likely you are to achieve your goals. And I want to be clear with you, these are not productivity hacks. These are like design moves. These are how you systematize the implementation of your goals. And they work because they reduce the mental cost of goal implementation. They make follow-through easier for your brain. And they build that repetitive, consistent sense of self-trust over time. Because the more rewards, the more frequently you reward your brain for the behaviors that it takes, the more often it's going to take that behavior. It's just brain science. So if you haven't picked up the Success Blueprint, my goal setting, goal implementation, goal achievement mini course, now is a great time to do so. In the Success Blueprint, I'll go into even greater depth on how to failure-proof your goals, and I give you a very easy process to follow if you do fall off track to bring you back to implementation quickly, easily, and effectively. If you're interested in that, you can find the link in the show notes below. What I want to do now is I want to talk to you about follow-through in a way that matches how we actually operate, what we actually do. And I'm going to talk to execution as a design problem. You probably have a high decision life, right? Your calendar is not open. You don't have a ton of white space. You're not looking for things to do. Your to-do list is probably pretty long. It's probably got more than one no-fail task on it. And you are probably called in multiple directions if you look at your professional life and your personal life. You probably have things that you really have to pay attention to. People who need things from you. Deadlines that you can't miss. Decisions that only you can make, right? That's normal. That's what it means to be an effective leader. That's what it means to be a successful woman. And so those aren't flaws. That's just the reality of you. Goals that live outside of that system are expensive. They require constant decision-making, small, minor decision-making. Like I said, am I going to do this? When am I going to do this today? What do I have to move in order to do this today? You have to remember that you have to do the thing, right? So you have to keep, if you want to be successful at implementing your goals, you have to keep pulling the goal back onto the stage and asking it to compete for time and attention. And that's mental load. That's decision fatigue. Your brain has a very predictable response to that. It starts treating the goal as optional work that requires extra energy. And optional work is always, every single time, going to lose out to urgent work, even when the optional work carries the greater long-term value. So, the point of today is very simple. We're going to design follow-through so the brain does less negotiating, so it carries less cognitive load. And there are two conditions that are going to make that possible. The first is predictability. Our brains run more smoothly, more efficiently, easier, when the timing is known, predictable, stable. The second feature is reinforcement. The brain is going to repeat behavior more reliably when it receives clear evidence that follow-through happens. That's those, you want to log your wins, and you want to have frequent wins, frequent, easy, small wins, because that builds that neuro pathway that I do the thing, I get a reward. I get my dopamine hit of success. I can check it off the list. I've done I see the progress. I see how I'm making progress toward the goal. It's what makes the messy middle so hard, is it gets hard to see that progress toward the goal. There's an episode on the messy middle that I'll link down in the show notes for you if you're not familiar with that idea. So the good thing is that you don't need a ton of tactics. You don't need fancy nothing. In fact, you need less, not more, right? What you need are smaller, less reflective, more automatic decisions that build the system of reliable execution. And that's what we're talking about today. So I'm going to give you 2 decisive actions. Decisive action number 1 is about timing. How do we make the timing predictable and reliable? Because the brain executes more reliably, more effectively when that timing question is settled, when it's not trying to negotiate a win. And this is just a lot of goals are vague on timing. They live in that kind of, I'll make time for it because it's important. I'll get to it. If this happens, then it'll go here. But if this other thing happens, it'll go there. So here's what you do. Action step number 1. You pick a specific day and time that you can commit to for the next 8 weeks. You got to give it 2 months. And I'm making that 8 weeks up. I don't know, maybe it's 10, maybe it's 12, maybe it's 6. It's got to be longer than 6. Like, you actually want to build the habit. So I would say a minimum of 8 weeks. And this is when you're going to do your goal, period. So here's an example of what that might look like. I will work on this goal. I'm trying to write a book. I'm not, but let's just say I'm going to spend an hour working on my book every Tuesday at 7:30 in the morning before my first meeting. You don't have to worry about it is on your dang calendar. You don't have to find a perfect window. It's just when you're going to do it. It's when it's going to happen. You take out that weekly debate about whether the goal belongs on the list, or do you really want to write a book? Is that really good? It just takes all of that, and you just Tuesday at 7:30. That's just when it happens. And I say 7:30. I put it in the morning. That was intentional. Remember, decision fatigue. the more decisions your brain makes in a day, the harder it is to do the more difficult things. Put the biggest rocks first thing in the morning. If you're a morning person, if you're a night owl, then maybe you want to put your rocks in the evening. But you put the goal, the thing that takes the actual mental energy so you can build the momentum to make it kind of automatic. You put that when your brain is most able to do the heavy lifting. For most people, that's going to be in the morning. Again, night owls, it might be in the evening. You know you, so you put it when it is best suited for you, and then you show the F up every Tuesday at 7:30. And it doesn't care how you feel. Doesn't matter if you don't want to do it. Doesn't matter if you're sick. That's the time you do the work. The work might not be good that day because you're sick, but you're doing the work on that day. Right? That's just how it works. A pre-decided time block just gets you to show up consistently. It does not have to be perfect. It just has to happen. And now, let me give you like 2 practical tips to help this feel more doable. Because I will confess for myself, I won't speak for anybody else, but I've done time blocking. I've put stuff on the calendar and then the time has come on the calendar and I haven't done the thing. That's not going to help you. Putting it on the calendar is not what executes it, right? Like you doing the work. So 2 things that you can do to help actually get you to show up at the time that you put on the calendar. First is to link it to an existing anchor. So before my first meeting is an anchor. It reduces the variables. It keeps the timing stable even if a day changes, right? And then the second thing that you can do is come up with like a start ritual. Something simple, like you're going to open your laptop. You're going to open the document. You're going to see your notes. You've got the clear, like, first couple of steps. You want your first 30, 60 seconds to be automatic. This is the muscle memory of starting to work. For me, I fill my water and then I set my water. I don't know why, but before I come into this office and do anything, I fill that little Stanley with water because I know I'm going to want to drink throughout but that is it's time to work because my laptop's always open. I don't ever close it. So that is my let's go. So figure out 1, link the action to an existing anchor. You're going to do it before work or 7:30 before your first meeting, whatever it is for you, at night after the kids go to bed, but you link it to something that's already established in your brain. So you're like habit stacking the doing of the thing. And then second, build yourself that little ritual that signals it's time to go. Okay. Doing those 2 things reduces your cognitive load. It builds that like automaticity. Is that the word? It makes it automatic. And you're not deciding. You're taking away that decision tax. So you're doing it more efficiently, which is going to make your brain more likely to do it. Okay. Here's another thing I'm going to say. Leaders, I talked earlier about just doing it, not worrying about being perfect. We can. If I put 7:30 on the calendar, is it going to be for 30 minutes? Is it going to be 60 minutes? Do I have 60 minutes? Is it 45? Am I cheating myself if it's 45? Here's what I would say. When you tell your brain, this is when I'm going to do it, you are simply building expectation, predictability. So you put it at 7:30. Because you're a morning person and you're going to get it done before your first meeting at 8:30. Okay, great. If it's 30 minutes that day, then it's 30 minutes that day. If it's 45 minutes that day, then it's 45 minutes. That's okay. It's 7:30. And your brain knows to predict 7:30 goal time. 7:30 is when I write the book. 7:30 is when I write the book. 7:30 is when I write the book. That consistency creates the pattern that the brain recognizes. And again, one day you might be more productive than the other day. That's okay. You're still clocking the win, which is I worked on the goal this day. And you're going to reward yourself for the work that you did on your goal. If it was crappy, you're going to reward yourself for showing up when you didn't feel like it. If it was amazing, you're going to reward yourself for the amazing. You're just building the consistency. So don't beat yourself up over the perfection of the block. The win is that you showed up and did the work during the block. That's the entire win. So clock the win. Because the more often you do that, the work becomes familiar. And familiar work requires less energy. And I know that there are some of us who hate routines and we love spontaneity. Okay, great, that's fine. But you still have to get over the hurdle of your brain needing to make the goal energy efficient. So just invest the 8 weeks or the 10 weeks, the 12, whatever it takes for it to become routine for you. Everyone's going to be a little different. Invest that time. Get past this is hard for my brain to do. And once you've done that, then find ways to make it spontaneous and fun. Because maybe that's what gets you from month 3 to month 6 and month 12. I'm not saying you have to do this the same way for the entire duration of your goal. What I'm saying is you've got to do it for long enough to take away the decision making and just make it an efficient part of what you already do. Make it normal. Don't make it past the new phase. That was action number 1. Get it on the calendar, show up, do it ugly, that's fine. Just freaking do it. Action number 2 is about reinforcement. Our brains respond strongly to evidence. That's all it's doing all the time is sensing, right? And so when evidence is frequent and clear, that is more meaningful evidence than evidence that is vague and sporadic. And so your brain is going to update its expectations about what you do based on frequent and clear signals. And this is really important because our motivation naturally is going to fluctuate for a billion different reasons that we're not going to get into right now. The evidence, that information coming in through the reticular activating system, that is what stabilizes our behavior. And so here's an example that might sound like, okay, but so what? Right. You can tell yourself, I trust myself to follow through on what matters. Well, that's great. But you have to build daily evidence of following through on your actions, right? You keep a small commitment every day and you check it off. You mark it as being complete. You acknowledge that you've done the thing. This is not about building like this crazy long to-do list. Again, I'm telling you shorter, fewer goals, less action is going to lead to a bigger payoff because you're actually going to do it. It's about building the reliable signal. We, as women, as leaders, we often carry commitments for other people. And that might be deadlines, it might be deliverables, it might be meetings, it might be decisions, it might be carpool, it might be our kids' hockey league, right? We carry a lot for others. Those commitments are visible. They're tracked. They get reinforced. Our internal commitments can disappear because they're private. They don't get that same reinforcement loop. And so this action, that reinforcement, that you do the thing and you log the win, that gives you internal follow-through that is visible to you. The commitment is small on purpose because the brain does better with reliability. Intensity is great, but reliability, consistency is key. So I said you show up 7:30 on Tuesdays to write the book. Great. Let's say you're trying to set some boundaries that's related to your goals for the year. And so you have a commitment to yourself that you're not going to check email the first 30 minutes of the day. You're going to give yourself time to wake up before you jump in. Great. Let's say you draft a page of your book. Let's say you outline a plan. Let's say you have a key conversation. The specific action, the things that you're going to do day to day, that's going to vary. What matters is that you show up consistently, that you keep the commitment day after day after day. And not only that you do the thing, but that you acknowledge to yourself. You send the very clear, conscious message, I did the thing. You can do that in a notes app. I've talked before about the journal app on my phone. That's where I log those wins for myself. Maybe it's a tracker. Maybe it is a check mark. Who knows? The tool doesn't matter. The brain just needs the signal. And when you do that over time, think about it. If you do that every day for a week, by the end of week 1, we're just talking work week, right? You've got 5 pieces of evidence that you're going to show up. By the end of week 2, 10 pieces of evidence. Reticular activating system? Well, I'm going to go look for more evidence. Your brain starts to update its expectations. Follow through becomes expected. It becomes familiar. That familiarity reduces resistance. You stop spending your energy trying to convince yourself to execute. These 2 actions work because they reduce the mental cost of execution. They strengthen self-trust through evidence, through consistent action that you acknowledge. So thing number 1, pre-decide when you're going to do the thing. Put your goal on the calendar in a way that you can commit to for 8 weeks, 10 weeks, 12 weeks. And you treat that as non-negotiable. You're going to show up, even if the actual work on that day isn't great. Doesn't matter. The key, the commitment, is showing up. And number 2, reliability. Build the daily evidence of the work. The work itself is the success. The quality of the work, you can tweak it over time. You just can. But show up when you say you're going to show up. You keep one small commitment every day and mark that commitment as complete. Honor the work when you do it so your brain gets the proof that it needs that you're following through on your actions. This is implementation without negotiation. This is how you automate implementation. And automation is the key to success. So, find one of your goals that you're working on today. Put it on your calendar. Pick one thing that you're going to do today for your goal and do it. Start collecting your evidence right now. Don't wait. Don't sleep on this. This is how you get in the 8% of goals that get achieved. This is how your follow-through becomes automatic. And again, this is the perfect time to check out the Success Blueprint, where I walk you step by step through setting goals that truly light you up, building a plan to turn those goals into reality, and implementing your plan with ease. It's only $26, and it is a no-brainer if you're looking to achieve big, juicy goals this year. Now, I hope you'll join me next week as we continue our conversation about the inner critic, that voice in our heads that tell us we aren't doing enough, or we're doing the wrong things, or we just can't get anything right. Once you understand where that voice is coming from, it becomes a whole lot easier to move past it. Now, if this episode spoke to you, I would love for you to share it with a friend who's running on empty. We need more women leading from alignment, not adrenaline. And please don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you could leave a review, I would really deeply appreciate it. Building those reviews on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube really does help a little podcast like mine get some traction and get it shown to more women who could benefit from it. Also, you can grab one of our free resources like the thought-catching journal prompts, the weekly reset routine, and the mental load reset, all available on the Women Lead Well website, and I'll link them in the show notes below. Remember, joyful, sustainable, and authentic leadership is possible, and you deserve to enjoy every minute of it. Until next time, I'm Becky Hamm, and this is Joyfully Unstoppable.